It is finally time for the last area in all of Hollow Knight, and to rank every single platform in this entire game. So here is what's going to happen. This is Godhome, and it has a lot of good platforms. I hope it does. It is part of technically a DLC, and it is, the boss rush of the entire game. I most definitely would hope that most of the platforms are really good or really well placed. Shockingly enough though, there are a lot of very odd and very strange platforms in this entire area. So, I know you can't really see it, but just off screen I have 3 different tabs for all of Godhome, and that does not mean there's 3 different areas. All it means is I managed to squeeze almost everything onto one place. So this right here is going to be the central hub of Godhome. As you can tell over here, we have kind of the overview of what Godhome is. We have the Pantheons, which is really the whole point of the area. And then we have a bench up here. It's hard to see, but it's up there. Trust me. So I'm going to go ahead and rank every single individual floating platform in the last area of this entire game. Now you'll notice that immediately upon entering Godhome, we do have little pillars off to the left side of this, because technically they do go into the ground, or at the very least they void out. We will not be counting those ones, but we do have our first platform right here. And this is a very special platform. Not that it does a whole lot of stuff, but it's a brand new type of platform. Godhome is a very specific area. You do not have access to any of these embellishments of platforms or these decorations in the entire game other than this area. And it kind of creates this magical, this majestic place. And even this first platform showcases this is not what you're used to. So in my opinion, I want to give this first platform a 7 because it's so unique. And then you are greeted with the Pantheons 1, 2, and 3, Pantheon of the Master, Artist, and then oh shoot, what are they called again? Yeah, Pantheon of the Master, Artist, and then the Sage. These are these 3 Pantheons right here. And then we have Pantheon of the Knight, the 4th one, only unlocked after beating all 3 Pantheons. And then above us is the, unlocking the 5th Pantheon, the Pantheon of Hollownest, which is what I used to run competitively, speedrun-wise. But the reason why this place is so weird for platforms is because a lot of this place is just floating. Like, this big platform right here, this technically counts as a platform. This, This part right here is honestly a pretty nice platform. It has a bench. It has this glorious little beam of sunshine raining upon you. In my opinion, I actually really like this platform. I will give this one a 7.5. Also because it does house the hallway for the Pantheons here. It does create a very nice environment, I suppose. And then to the right of us, we have 2 more platforms. The one that is right underneath the Pantheon of the Knight, Pantheon 4. And the one that holds, right above it, the access key, the switch, to Pantheon 5. And I think these are also pretty good. However, these are much less important, I suppose. By now, once you get to the Pantheon 4, you're probably somewhat used to how Godhome looks and feels, so it's not really amazingly awesome now, but it's still cool. In my opinion, this one will get a 5.5 because of that, but this one will definitely still receive a 7 because of the switch on top of it. And at least for our first area, these are all of our platforms. There's not a whole lot. It looks very off here, but underneath us there is the Hall of Gods, and above us is, Pantheon 5. And so I've kind of combined them both into this screen. If you were to go via the Hall of Gods, you'll end up over here. And unfortunately, I could not, no matter how I really tried, I could not get a good, a screenshot of these things. So I did highlight the platforms here. It's a little hard to tell, but we have one very, very massive platform over here. And then we have 2 very small platforms just onto the sides of them. So if I zoom out, you can see that there are 3 platforms. 1, 2, and 3. However, in my opinion, these platforms are not really that special. I will simply give them a 5 for the side platforms, simply because, you know, you need to get up to the second level. And this large platform, I suppose, will get a 6.5. If you really think about it, this is really just a long hallway. And as cool as it is as the Hall of Gods, where you can fight every single boss in this entire game on, you know, normal difficulty, one where they deal 2 massive damage or double damage, and one where you get one-hit death. That's Radiant. So, in my opinion, as a platform, it's not really that important, but it is a pretty cool platform with all the bosses on it. So 6.5, in my opinion, is very understandable. And then the last central hub area is the location for Pantheon 5. And I'm sorry, I tried to stitch together some screenshots the best I could. It still turned out terrible, and I apologize for that. I couldn't really find out a good way to do it. And here we have a total of 4 platforms. We have this first one. I guess maybe encountering this might be the last platform you really recognize. It's this large platform right here. And this one is kind of interesting. I guess the only reason why this big platform exists is for the little secret here, the Land of Storms. You can only access the Land of Storms after beating every single Pantheon with all bindings, which objectively will take a very long time. But you can go there, and it's a very secret place. And you get the Weathered Mask there, which unlocks a journal entry into the Hunter's Journal. It's not really that great. It's very much flavor text and a little bit of lore. But it does provide proof of, I have accomplished this great goal that many people have not. In fact, I'm willing to bet that maybe less than 4% of all Hollow Knight players have actually obtained the Weathered Mask via normal means, not cheating. So, this platform is only okay, I think. I will give it a 6. And then we have our 2, I suppose, supplementary platforms. Only here so that you can access the last platform up here. So in my opinion, these are just 5s. But it's this platform. This platform for the Pantheon of Hallownest, in my opinion, is one of the best platforms in the game. It has so much lore implications. It has so many cool designs on it, and it's also the actual competitive speedrun that I used to run, and I still occasionally attempt. So in my opinion, this platform here, as the pinnacle of Hollow Knight, it is literally the pinnacle of the whole game. You're supposed to go here and ascend to the crown, to the tippy top of Hallownest, and defeat the Absolute Radiance. This is a 10 platform. I know we haven't really been dishing out very high numbers. We've had a lot of low numbers in all of our ranking systems and all of our ranking platforms. This is one of the rare ones where it's just objectively really, really good for a lot of implications. As a platform in of itself, it's not supremely awesome, I'll be honest. But I personally think it's deserving of a 10. And that is roughly the main central hub of this entire area. The only really interesting parts are the Pantheons themselves and what they have to offer. And I'm going to be very honest right now. Don't get overwhelmed, but the next tab that I have is all of the platforms in all of the areas, including some very strange things I noticed while using debug mod. And so I'm just going to have a little bit of, oh, look at this thing. I'm going to go in order of basically what you encounter in Pantheon 5. And our first one is the Massive Moss Charger. What I find really funny about Massive Moss Charger was that during my debug mod, because I want to figure out like, oh, where are there platforms in this area and such, there's very, very strange things happening here. As you can tell, I'm clearly cheating and using debug mod, but this is very clearly the Massive Moss Charger. So then, what is this little hitbox down here? And so, kind of playing around with debug mod, I no-clipped into the ground, and it turns out this is also an extra hitbox of the Massive Moss Charger. And yes, attacking this hits the Massive Moss Charger as well. It's really strange. I'm supremely confused why it's there, because at the very least, you just needed this first one. So I'm very confused why there's one down there. It doesn't fully make sense to me, but it's just an interesting thing. Our next thing is Gorb, and I have personal beef with Gorb for various reasons. This is gonna be a little bit of a rant, so I apologize. But the first thing that's immediately confusing to me about Gorb is his movement patterns. Gorb will try to stay roughly this distance away from the knight. Gorb kind of wiggles back and forth. He'll just kind of squiggle and float around. He'll just kind of hover. In my speedruns, if you are underneath him or you're trying to approach him, there is about a 50-50 chance that he wiggles slightly towards you instead of backing up. And if that happens, you lose the run. On top of the idea that he has a 1/3 chance of teleporting every time you hit him. Which makes it, when you hit Gorb, there's a chance that instead of being in this spot, now he's over here. And you have to run over there. But there's also a chance that by the time you actually get over here, he'll teleport back over here. And it creates a speedrunning nightmare from trying to get from one spot to another just to hit him. So, in my opinion, I hate Gorb for his teleporting necessity and his jank movement. I have lost more runs to Gorb than I think I've lost any other speedrun in any other category. It is that annoying. But we have some very interesting things. I did not actually realize this. Technically, these are platforms, but they also go into the void out spikes. And that leads us to our next thing. These are spikes, which does not really seem to make sense because not only is there no sound effect if you hit them, the moment you go into it, you void out as like normal spikes do, or a normal void out thing. But you can pogo on all of it. And it's so strange to me because why in the world did they decide to program two different spikes here? There's one here, but there's also another one here. So it's really, really weird. And you'll see this occasionally if you've ever seen me stream this Pantheon 5 speedrun. After beating Gorb, I will always pogo off this portion right here. And it's so strange to me, because you can just go out there and pogo into the void. I'm so confused by this. I actually do want to rank these ones, because without these platforms, you have no platforms in this area. So this, in my opinion, will get a pass. I'll give a little asterisk over here. Because these are the only three things you can actually walk on in this entire arena, I'm going to count these ones. And so in my opinion, these platforms are all okay. They're good for the room, and they're good for the Pantheon, for this boss fight. However, they're not actually grand, I suppose, platforms. So in my opinion, I think this will get a 6, 7, because this is where you respawn, 6.5. There have been times where, you get caught in an awkward situation, and you fall in between these platforms, and you're trying to jump back out. However, if you are caught on the right-hand side, there's a chance that you just can't even wall climb out because they, for some reason, decided to program the spikes way too high. So this is my personal beef with Gorb. I think Gorb is the #1 worst boss in this game for speedrunners. So this is just where I lie. And yeah, I'm confused why Gorb even has all this stuff in the first place. But in my opinion, these are how I would rank these platforms. The next oddity that I want to point out is with Dung Defender, and we have two different screenshots here. Something that has always, confused me is whenever the Dung Defender, or the White Defender, to be fair, whenever he would dive into the dirt, or I guess the dung, the floor, I always wonder, like, what happens to him? Where does he go? Turns out, he's actually all the way down here. If you look at it, this is currently where, the animations show he is, and it's directly underneath. Unlike the Massive Moss Charger, though, this is not interactable. So no matter how hard you try with debug mod or no clip and such, if you go down there and try to hit it, you will not be able to deal damage to him. You can only deal damage when he pops out. But it's kind of interesting because if you time it really well, as the Dung Defender comes out and you hit him and it knocks him down, it puts him into tumble, he can get stuck underneath the floor. And you can see this is his actual hitbox. And you'll also notice he is currently doing an attack where he throws the dung balls, I suppose. What's really interesting is that technically you can actually hit him here. If you were to somehow get inside this area, or if you have, I think it's Mark of Pride and Long Nail, I don't know, I didn't test this part out, but I think you can actually hit him while he's stuck underneath the floor. Very interesting boss, very strange mechanics, very strange interactions as well. The next oddity that we have is with the fight Oro and Mato. As you can see, Oro is standing here triumphantly ready for battle. And funnily enough, his brother Mato is just off screen. And you can tell that this is actually Mato in the top left corner because the moment you beat first phase, you know, you defeat Oro, and then Mato's supposed to jump in and help, this red box disappears and falls from the sky. So really, I've noticed something that's very interesting when it comes to more than one enemy in a boss arena. Whenever there is more than one boss per arena, or more than one phase, let's say, they will actually hide the second phase hitbox somewhere else so that they can be loaded in when the time is right. There's a certain trigger that happens such that the second thing, I guess in this case Mato, will spawn in at the right time. In this case, the trigger is simply defeating Oro. And then you have to defeat Oro and then Mato, and then that's the whole fight. But you can't interact with this one. Even though Mato's over here and his hurt box is over here, you actually can't interact with it. It's just there, which is also very strange. Our first actual, real, genuine platforms of Pantheon 5 is with Zero. Probably one of the easiest bosses in all of Hollow Knight. And, you know, just generalized, this is probably the simplest boss. He flies around and he throws his things, his nails at you, I suppose. And there are 3 platforms here to kind of gauge that. Now, something that is very interesting is these nails that he fires at you, they have hitboxes and interactable hitboxes as well. You can pogo off them, which is something I didn't actually realize for a while. You can pogo off Zero's nails, and it's very funny. It doesn't really do a whole lot because it's actually kind of dangerous to be above him. But, you know, it's just very interesting interactions. More on the platforms. These platforms are actually pretty good in my opinion. I think this platform, the one that you first spawn in on, should get a 6. It's a pretty good platform. It introduces you to the stage and it kind of shows, hey, this is Zero, let's go fight him now. And this platform to the left, in my opinion, is probably a 4.5. I actually don't like this platform. It's too small. I feel like there's not enough maneuverability on this one. And also, as a speedrunner, I don't use that platform very often because Zero spawns in, well, I guess he's moving right now. He usually spawns in right about here, which actually makes this right platform much more efficient for speedrunning purposes. In my opinion, this other platform will probably get a 6.5. Not much higher, but it is nice. And at this point, I know I said, you know, speedrunner perspective many times in that last couple of minutes, but really at this point, this is now challenge mode. There is no casually beating of the Pantheon 5. You are doing this because it's optional. No one really has to do the Pantheons. In fact, actually Pantheon 5 in of itself is objectively one of the optional things to do. It does not count towards percentage. It does not count towards the 112%. And funnily enough, the only thing that you get out of this is quote-unquote the true ending, which again is still technically an optional ending. So at this point, we are now observing everything here out of a challenge perspective or a speedrun perspective. There's no quote-unquote casualness anymore. This is the Soul Master, another strange oddity that I found in the Pantheon 5. As you can see, I've written down, this is the first phase, and you can kind of tell that currently he's doing his little attackies, and he's going to move across the screen. However, there's something that I noticed very off-screen. Right here. This is the second phase Soul Master. And if you remember what I said about whenever there's second phases or more than one boss per arena, they actually hide the hitbox somewhere else. But something that's super odd about this one is that this one is interactable. Unlike Mato, which is over here, you can't interact with him. You can actually interact with the Soul Master's second phase, which makes things a little bit weird. In fact, if you interact with him, he actually spawns. And this is a real screenshot that I took. using debug mod to activate that. This first one, or I guess the one on the right, is the first phase Soul Master. The one on the left is the second phase Soul Master. It's still true that if you defeat only the second phase Soul Master, you beat the boss and you move on to the next boss. If you just beat the first one, well then he disappears and nothing happens. You still have to beat the second one. It's a very odd thing to observe and a very odd thing to see happen, but hey, the powers of debug mod. Maybe this is good information for glitches. I don't know. If they want to do a true ending, maybe this is helpful. The next boss that we have that actually has platforms and also actually has 0 oddities in it is the Fluke Marm. Funnily enough, there's only one difference between the Godhome Fluke Marm and the actual fight of Fluke Marm. It's the fact that we're missing a platform right about here. We usually have 8, we only have 7 in this case. It's still a super easy fight, probably one of the easiest fights in all of Hollow Knight. There's only 2 bad platforms. Those 2 bad platforms are the ones farthest away. This one and this one. These are objectively the worst platforms in this room. So in my opinion, those ones will probably get like 3s. They're not actually good. You don't want to be there unless you're getting chased. All the other platforms, they're okay. Like, at the very worst, they're good, but at the very best, they're only okay. The only really good platform, in my opinion, is the platform that you spawn in on, which is this one right here. This one, in my opinion, will get a 6.5. The reason why is because you can just dash, double jump, and just immediately start attacking. Even before the Fluke Marm actually finishes, crying out as the first phase, whatever, you can start attacking the Fluke Marm. And if you're fast enough, you can actually defeat the Fluke Marm before she spawns any of the Fluke phase, which is the speedrun strat. You just kind of hover around this little area, double jumping and pogo and attacking, and you just kill the Fluke Marm in roughly 6 seconds. But yeah, in my opinion, this is the only good platform in this boss. Okay, this is where things get a little bit complicated just because I wanted to fit everything onto one screen, and I had to reformat a lot of this in order to do so. But the next one that we have is Umu, everyone's favorite boss, especially speedrunners, because this is actually a pure RNG boss. And here's the thing, the reason why I say it's pure RNG is because immediately Umu has one of 3 attacks. There is the short attack, which is spawn the charged Lumaflies that burst at once. There's the slow attack, which is wherever you are standing, the Umu will summon charged Lumaflies around you, and it will follow you to wherever you go next. That is the slow attack. Or there is the good attack, and it starts spawning these Ums as its first attack. It's very rare, and it's very uncommon. But if you manage to get Umu to spawn these Ums on the first attack, you're in luck. That's a very good run. But on average, it takes about the second or third. I think there's a lot of good platforms here, but there's also some not that important ones. And in my opinion, I'll start with the top one, because this is one of the unimportant ones. I don't actually know any person who willingly goes all the way to the top platform in order to avoid certain things unless you're just playing around. So in my opinion, this one gets a 4. And this is where things are going to get a little bit controversial, because unless you speedrun this, you might disagree with my rankings. And that's okay. You are just simply inferior. So here's what I'm going to say. This one gets a 5. This one gets a 5. This one gets a 5. And I won't be judging these ones because clearly they're submerged in the acid, so technically I'm not going to count those ones. Here is where things get interesting. I'm giving this one an 8. And you might be thinking, how the heck does that one get an 8, but this one gets a 5? There's a very, very good reason for this. The moment you spawn into this fight, you spawn in down here. But you can double jump, go up here, and then go over here. By the time you are there, Umu will shoot up right about here-ish. I think that's roughly the same size. Yeah. This is Umu. And what makes it really nice is that by the time you get onto this 8 platform, you can dream nail Umu twice and get 2 free charges of soul before Umu will even start her first attack. Or its first attack. which makes it super, super good for collecting soul. So in my opinion, that one gets an 8. However, the same cannot be said for the other platforms. These two platforms that you actually take to get up to that platform, their whole purpose is just like the other side. You know, it's just normal platforms, but it's meant to get up to that number 8. So I'll give them 5.5s, in my opinion. They're not just for platforming's sake. It's also very, very helpful for speedrunning. And this middle platform, which the knight is currently standing on, this one's actually really debatable. I want to give this one a 6.5, because it is the center platform, which makes it really good. But also, it makes it really annoying because a lot of the times, Umu will be overlapping with this platform pretty often. So it's like good, but like questionably good. And the same cannot be said for the bottom platform. This is actually the speedrunner's favorite platform. Well, I guess maybe second favorite platform. It's because all these that Umu spawns, they spawn in from the bottom and they start to arise from the bottom. And so because Umu follows where the knight currently is standing, you want to stand on this little platform because it'll have the shortest amount of distance from the to Umu. That way you can actually beat the boss. So in my opinion, this is also a really, really good platform. I'm willing to give this one a 7.5. And here's the thing, if you disagree with me, I'm sorry. I think you're just inferior. Now, obviously, there are different challenges you can do. At that point, it changes a lot of things. But extra challenge is not what I'm looking for right now. Right now, I'm taking into consideration of speedrunning, because that's what I do professionally. And I'm taking this as someone who's actually taking on Pantheon 5. And that's not a casual thing to do. So in my opinion, these are the rankings I would give for each of these platforms. Our next platform is located in the Winged Nosk Arena. And it's funny because this platform actually is not even relevant to the fight. It's only there so you can spawn in. This platform that you are currently standing on, the moment you go over here and you activate the boss fight, it disappears. So it's really strange. This is technically like a non-existent platform, so to speak. So in my opinion, this platform probably gets like a 2. Its whole purpose is so that you exist, and then it disappears. In my opinion, it's not even part of the boss fight itself. So it doesn't do anything. Or at least not that I'm aware of. But it is kind of cool. The next boss fight that we have is No Eyes. And something that's to be important and something that is to be taken note of is that No Eyes has 2 different arenas. One inside the normal Pantheons, and one for Pantheon Apollonist. They're both very, very annoying. Something that's very interesting to note is actually this arena, for a Pantheon, I think it's like 2 or maybe 3, I don't remember. This arena for the Pantheon is actually the exact same as the arena in Green Path. All the platform placements are exactly the same. The only difference now is that on the floor, instead of, a very large platform with spikes on the edge, we have a small platform with larger areas of spikes on the edges. It doesn't really add a whole lot, to be honest, unless you're camping this specific spot, which in my opinion, why are you just camping in that one specific spot? You're going to take forever trying to hit No Eyes. But I guess that is a way to play, so I don't blame you for that, I'm just confused. But in my opinion, because all of these platforms are literally the exact same as what's in Green Path, I will actually not be ranking any of these. You'll just have to go back and watch the Green Path video and see how I rank these ones. The only thing that's actually important is the Pantheon 5 arena, which, up to debate, looks slightly different from the first one. So let me explain. As you can see, we have a little bit more spikes and a little bit more thorns, and definitely a lot less maneuverability. Now here is the annoying part. Debatably, 2 of these platforms are trash. Like, very trash. And I'll give you a quick second to think, which ones do you think are those ones? If you guessed this platform and this platform, you're wrong. The actual 2 bad platforms in this arena is actually this one and this one. The reason why is because even though, yes, you spawn in on this little platform, as you can see by the little blue box, No Eyes does not actually move around there very often, if at all. There's only, I think, 7 spawn locations for No Eyes. One up here, 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 and here. These, I think, oh, maybe there's only 6. I think these are the only 6 spawn locations for where No Eyes can be. And as you can tell, if you are standing in here, this is actually the most dangerous one. This one right here. This one is actually very dangerous because you're so close to the walls, which have thorns on them, and you're also close to the walls, meaning you're very close to the hurt boxes of the spirits that No Eyes summons. So this is actually a really bad platform. The same can be said for the bottom right platform right here, because to efficiently attack No Eyes, you want to hit No Eyes when she's to the side of you, but unfortunately, sometimes No Eyes can drift down this little area, which means you have to pogo. But if No Eyes teleports before you actually pogo, there's a very high chance that you just fall into the spikes or hit the thorns. There's very little chance of actually making it out there safely unless you double jump preemptively. But, you know, if the goal is to hit her, then you're not going to be double jumping in the first place. So in my opinion, the 2 worst platforms of this arena are the bottom 2 platforms. I will give this one a 4. I will give this one a 3. This one will get a 6. This one will... Actually, I think both of these top platforms will get a 7. Main reason is because even though, yes, there is a 1/3 chance of No Eyes teleporting somewhere else, I believe, it's still a 1/3 chance. You can hit No Eyes multiple times if you get lucky. Let's say it's over here or over here. In both of those spots, you can still rack up a lot of damage. So in my opinion, those 2 top platforms are the best platforms in this arena. And moving on from No Eyes, the last boss with platforms in all of the Pantheon of Hollownest, or I guess in the bosses at all, is everyone's favorite, Markoth! And this is what the Pantheon of Hollownest arena looks like. The actual not terrible one looks like this. Markoth actually kind of suffers the same fate as No Eyes. If you remember, No Eyes' arena, even in the Pantheon, is the exact same as the one in Green Path. Technically, Markoth's Pantheon arena is almost identical. It's almost identical. The only difference is the sizes of some of these platforms. It's a little bit scrunched. I wanted to make it fit. But the only main difference is that this top platform used to be a tall one, and these were also slightly bigger. That's really the only difference between this Pantheon arena and Markoth's actual arena. So again, I'm not going to rank these ones. Go watch the Kingdom's Edge video. I did it there. But I do want to rank the Pantheon of Hollownest, because now there's 5 and there's no floor. And this is what's considered, well, I suppose the community considered, one of the hardest fights in all of Hollow Knight. Now, in my opinion, I actually do agree. This boss fight is one of the most frustrating bosses in all of Hollow Knight. It is significantly unfair. The fact that you have no floor and you only have 5 platforms to move around while trying to dodge Markoth and his swords is just unfair. But to add to the unfairness, I want to point something out. Even though it's not really well captured in these screenshots, there's actually a difference between the left side and the right side of the walls. Now, I know this is not platforms, but I do want to specify something. In terms of Markoth's attacks, these walls are not symmetrical. What do I mean by this? Hi, this is Future Facade here. I really butchered that part of the explanations, so I'm just gonna redo it again. As you can see, the knight is standing right smack dab in the middle. Little swords that Markoth kind of spawns want to be about this distance away from the knight. It's a pretty nice distance, it's not bad, but here is the main issue. As I said before, the left side and the right side are not symmetrical. And if I zoom out, you might be able to tell the green boxes are the walls. The orange and the reds, well, those are just kind of environmental stuff. You don't have to worry about that. But when you look at the left side of this arena, you'll notice that the left wall is significantly wider comparatively to the right wall. It is much, much smaller. The reason why this is so important is because these swords that Markoth spawns can actually spawn anywhere as long as it's not outside of these walls. Which means, and you've probably seen it before, they can spawn inside of these walls. Say you're just wall jumping around like this. The sword can actually spawn here and outside of your range of view. And it's impossible to tell where they're coming from at this point. The same cannot be said on the right side. On the right hand side though, let's say you are, let's just say you're right here trying to avoid everything. The closest that the swords can spawn is roughly around here. And again, remember, the swords have to be a minimum distance away from the knight, which means the closest they can ever go is right about here, which is very easily seen on screen. No, the same cannot be said on the left side. They can spawn outside of the screen and you can't tell where they're coming from. Anyways, I just wanted to redo that entire segment because I was very much unsatisfied with it. So, in my opinion, if you are having difficulty trying to fight Markoth, use the right-hand side of the wall. You are guaranteed to do a lot better. But when it comes to the platforms themselves, these platforms are really brutal. And I want to explain a little bit something. All of these platforms are not great. They're meant to be here for absurd difficulty challenges. But one of these I think is a little bit better than the others, and it's completely personal taste. So if you disagree with this one, I cannot argue with this one. In my opinion, these two bottom platforms will get 5s because they're just okay. I personally like this one. Not just because, the right-hand side is the better side, but because over here you have a good view of everything. And if you ever need to, you can just jump across to this platform, jump down here, or jump down to this one. And it makes it very easy to maneuver around. And you might be thinking, well then this one should get a 6.5 as well. I'm only going to give this one a 6 because of it's on the left side. I don't like the left side of this arena, as I explained why. And this one in the middle, okay, I want to give this one a 6 then. I want to give this middle platform a 6 because something that's really odd to me is that Markoth does not actually have a properly functioning, environmental hitbox, which means he doesn't interact with these platforms. So he just phases right through them. Except when he's using his spin attack. When Markoth is actually using his Dream Shield and it's like spins around in a circle, getting bigger and then getting smaller again, if Markoth is like right here, he will actually get stuck onto this platform, which means you can hit him as many times as you want if you're in the middle platform. The same is not true when he's just wandering around. His hurtbox or hitboxes for environmental collision is turned off, but when he's attacking with his Dream Shield, it is turned on and you can shove him into a corner. It's very, very strange, but I think because of that, this platform is worthy of a 6. I still think that this top right platform is just the best one. There's no full evidence why, I just think it's better. And that's all of the bosses. All the other things have already been taken care of, and all the oddities have also already been taken care of. However, now obviously that's all of the bosses in Pantheon 5, except for one, but before we actually get to the last boss, here's a little clip, or I guess a series of clips that I want to show you real quick. And I've only discovered this because of Debug Mod. So as you saw in those clips, there's a platform above the Godseeker in these rooms. I don't know why. I don't know why they're there. I'm very confused, and the fact that you can even reach them is so strange to me. And I chose this room specifically because not only is this one the only one with platforms, but also these are the only ones with the hazards at the bottom that are interactable. You can pogo off of them. Obviously, in the Lake of Un room, you can't reach it because, there's acid. And in the Pale King room, you can't reach it either because it's just floor. So it's really weird that it's there in the first place. And these two platforms are objectively just whatever platforms. But these rooms are so confusing to me because why is there a platform above them And why does this one have spikes that you can pogo off at the bottom too? It's so wildly strange. I'm so confused, but regardless, I guess these platforms I suppose are hidden, which makes them cool. I'll give them a 6 for all of them. But I'm it's just one of those really confusing things that I found while playing around in this game. But now, it is time to actually ascend into the last fight. Okay, I wanted to put on some Absolute Radiance fight music, but then I realized it's way too hype, so we're just gonna deal with it. In this fight, you'll notice, obviously there is the ascent, there's the climb, and then Radiance is all the way at the top. This is very interesting because some of these platforms are actually really, really nice, and some of these platforms are not so great. The first platform you will encounter in this fight, which is this platform here, simply gets a 5. At this point, you're probably shaking in your boots, or you're also shaking in your boots if you're a speedrunner, because, this is the last fight. This is only here so that you can go up to second phase, which is these group of platforms. So this first platform is only okay. However, it's these platforms that are actually really, really important, because now each platform has their own purpose, and some of these ones are really, really good, like objectively some of the best in the game. But some of these ones are also not great. So let's start off with the one that I think is the worst one in this fight. This one all the way to the right. This platform is only here for 2 purposes, because there's different areas obviously where the Absolute Radiance can spawn. As you can see, the Radiance can spawn here, 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 and here. I believe these are the only, 7 areas that the Absolute Radiance can spawn in. And if you look at the right one, there's only 2 spots that it can hit. One on each side. The unfortunate part is, the one on the right is not great because sometimes the Radiance will move a little bit to the right, a little more than you'd want, and so you have to jump out there in order to hit her. Which makes recovering back to this platform a little bit annoying. Especially with all the attacks that she's trying to hit you with. If it spawns on the left side of this platform, it's not bad. But it's still not great either. So in my opinion, this one, because of its inconvenience, I'm going to give this one a 4. However, the same cannot be said for the platform all the way to the left. This platform is not bad, but it's not good either. I think this one will get a 4.5. But it's only getting a 4.5 because you have to jump up and hit her, and it's kind of out of the way. This is clearly the more optimal platform to be on. Which, speaking of, this one will probably get a 5.5. This top platform is still good, but it's not the best either. I think this platform up here probably gets about a 6. This is an unfortunate placement because even though I drew the circle right above it, it's actually a lot higher than this. And it's kind of unfortunate because I think you do have to jump in order to hit the Absolute Radiance, but that's not that big of an issue. You have a lot of platforms to maneuver around and fall onto if you miss this platform. So there's still a good amount of stuff to do here. Believe it or not, the best platforms of this phase are these 3 platforms. Objectively, these are the best ones, and I'll explain why. These 2 platforms on either side, this one and this one, these 2 are really, really good because you don't have to jump. Well, maybe for the right one you do, but you don't have to jump for the left one in order to hit the Radiance. So this one probably gets a 6, this one gets a 7, maybe a 7.5. But this bottom platform, objectively, is the best platform in this area. The reason why is because if the Radiance is here, in this center area, you don't have to jump. It also provides a lot of protection. Something that a lot of people did not realize, and something I want to share, is that when the Radiance is doing this move, where it sends out the orbs of light, if you stand on this little bottom platform, no matter where the Radiance is, there's a good chance that those orbs of light will run into platforms before it even reaches you. And the only reason to actually dodge them is to jump, and they will curve into another platform and disappear. So if anything, you are the most safe on this bottom platform, and it's really, really nice. In my opinion, this platform for this fight earns a 9. It is objectively my favorite platform in this area. There's only 2 platforms that I like to camp in this fight. It would be this platform, and this platform very, very specifically because I can go to this platform. That's really about it. This platform is also really nice. But in my opinion, these 3 platforms are the best platforms in this fight. This bottom platform is objectively the best. And then we go on to the climb, the ascent phase. The phase where you are literally ascending to the highest point of Hollow Nest. And you are going to beat the Absolute Radiance. Ascending into, I guess, the godhood that you are, I don't know. But here is the thing. A lot of these platforms are okay. Even for a speedrunner, some of these ones are only okay. They're not bad. So here's what I'll do. If I give anything higher than a 5, it's because of speedrunning purposes. If something gets a 5, I think it's just a good platform. That's really all that it is. Okay, well actually, if 5 is the average, I think 7s and 8s are appropriate. So this platform here gets a 6. This platform, 7, 7, 7. Actually, I'm going to give this one a 7.5. For speedrunning purposes, the fastest way to climb is to wall jump off of these 2 platforms. So I think that one gets a 7.5. 7, 7, 7.5, not because of speedrunning speed, but I think this platform is actually very difficult. Because of its unfortunate placement, after you wall jump up here, as the Radiance is trying to hit you with beams of light, it's really weird because if you go up this way, there's a chance that you'll still get hit by whatever beam of light it's trying to hit you with. Or you can go underneath it and around, which is also a very viable option, which I have done occasionally. It's really weird. But that one gets a 7.5 in my book. 7, 7.5, 7, 7, 7, and then this is where things get really annoying. This one will get a 7, this one gets a 7.5, because as I explained with this platform down here, it actually is most optimal to go underneath it, which is really funny to me, because at this point in time, the Radiance will now aim at you. It's not going to be taking random shots towards you, it's now going to be taking shots at you. So if you manage to kind of dodge your way through it, these platforms become a lot easier. This one will get an 8, this one will get an 8, and of course, at the very pinnacle of the Radiance fight, we have our 2 lonesome platforms. And here is my main issue with these ones. This one will get a 9.5, but this one will only get an 8. I'm doing this specifically because the left platform is the one you respawn if you fall into the void, not the right one. But also, the reason why I'm keeping them from any higher than they possibly can be is because the most optimal way to beat the, or maybe not the most optimal, but like the most normal way to beat the Radiance is to pogo off her. You see, there's only 3 places the Radiance can spawn right here. It's one of these 3 spots. If you didn't know, now you know, there is a ceiling such that all the attacks that the Radiance sends, the orbs of light, they will stop here. Which means if you as the knight, let's say, are right here, and an orb of light misses, it like goes all the way up here, it despawns. And so that is the most effective way to beat the Radiance. Now, for speedrunners, you want to be like inside the Radiance. You want to be like right here and attacking all the time. But in my opinion, these unfortunately cannot get any higher than what I've currently given them because you don't use these platforms. The most normal way to beat the Radiance is by pogoing, which means these platforms are just optional at that point. I wish I could get these ones higher, but because you pogo in order to actually defeat the Radiance the most effectively, I can't really justify giving these a 10. But that's okay, because we already had a 10 platform in this area. And that's for the Pantheon of Hollow Nest itself. And just like that, that is all of the platforms in the Pantheon 5, in Godhome, in all of Hollow Knight. This marks the conclusion of all rankings of all platforms in Hollow Knight. Who would ever think that we'd actually make it this far? I mean, I guess I kind of did, but I didn't expect it to take this long. I thought it was going to be a lot shorter. But there's a lot of good platforms out there. There's a lot of bad ones too, but there's also a lot of good platforms. This Radiance fight is one of my favorite fights in the entire game. And, you know, it proves so. It's fun. It's good. It's hard. It's challenging. But it's rewarding. And that's really what this is about. But this concludes all platforms in Hollow Knight. Yay! But honestly, if you did watch this, I'm so thankful that you did. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for joining me on this terribly long journey. But, as usual, I have been Facade. I have ranked every single platform in all of Hollow Knight. I hope you have a good rest of your day or your night, depending on your availability, of course. Regardless of what comes next, I will see you in the next one. Good night.